Welcome in the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Real G. Warner. Tonight we're going through the Europa League match day, whatever it is, but knockouts, leg two. Anyone who's new to the soccer podcast, pretty much every time there's a two-legged tie, you switch home fields and then you combine the scores. We have scores to discuss, we have permutations, two advanced numbers, all those sort of things, and we'll get through that with some best bets coming end of show. One from the early window in the Europa League, also one from the late window. If you're not a member of patreon.com/real_G Warner, I suggest you get on there. A lot of college basketball plays out there already for the NCAA tournament. Got our first winners tonight on Miami of Ohio. That was not really much of a sweat, I must say, and it was ridiculous seeding by the NCAA tournament selection committee, but that's what we're here to take advantage of, and those big mistakes are usually what we profit from. If you are not a member or just not subscribed to the podcast, do so. Apple Podcasts on Spotify. It's called Betting the Pitch. We love reviews. We love comments. Only if they're 5-star reviews, though. Don't bother to do anything if you're doing less than that. If you're on YouTube at the Real_G Warner, also on Instagram if you want the reels, shorts on those two shortened versions. Let's get into the Europa League. We'll start in the early matchup. I guess we have a few, all starting at 12:45 Central Time, 1:45 Eastern. I will be pretty deep in college basketball at that point, but luckily they're standalone games to start the NCAA tournament. With all that said, we'll start with Michelin. They are quarter goal underdogs at home to Nottingham Forest. They won the first leg 1-0. My best bet on last week's episode was Nottingham Forest to not cover a one-goal spread, so we took +1 on Michelin, and they took care of business ultimately. Got a win away from home, played really competitively. I think won there also during Europa League league phase earlier this season. So it's been a good run so far, and now they need to go at home and not lose. They are quarter goal underdogs though, and what the biggest concern for me in this matchup is that when Nottingham Forest take a 1-0 lead, this game is heading to extra time since aggregate will be tied, and there won't be a lot of desperation for Michelin to take chances late in the match, which means they will move on to extra time and you'll lose your bet, or I'll lose my bet, or we'll both lose our bets. So that is a big concern for me, and it's probably enough to keep me away just because the setup isn't really ideal for an underdog player like myself. Total in this one is, let me get the right spot so I can enter it. It is 2 3/4, and it's used very heavily to under right now. That reflects the low-scoring first matchup, low-scoring knockout ties across Champions League and Europa League so far. I'm not sure there's a lot for me there, but let's go now move to the two advanced numbers and let's see what they're at. So what we initially saw was Nottingham Forest -290 to Michelin's +215, which is saying something considering the second leg was in Denmark. But, you know, there are ridiculous, overly priced UK clubs. Nottingham Forest are one of those, and have done absolutely ridiculous things so far in many transfer windows and such. But currently, Nottingham Forest have moved to +146 to advance, so that is a significant change. Right now, Michelin have moved to -190, 190 US wins you 100, and that's a change of about 213%. Yes, there are pretty big grabs or changes in big handle discrepancy. Unfortunately, that's part of the game in soccer to advance betting. That's why I really only play underdogs, but Michelin would have been a great bet in the first leg, and I wish I had done it. We'll move now to the next matchup on the list, and that is Sport Club Freiburg. As if you're watching on video on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing a Freiburg kit. Unfortunately, the only Europa League side left, so I'm going to be getting a lot of use out of this unless they get eliminated, which they're not off to a great start. Freiburg started initially as a 2-1 favorite, 1-2 or 2-1 on. They're now down to -122 with the second leg at home after they lost the first leg 1-0 to Genk in Belgium. That is a change of... Well, unfortunately, crossing zero is a big deal, but Freiburg have decreased 64% from being a 2-1 favorite to -122 at present, and that's because they're behind and have to go change things around pretty quickly away from home in order to get what's really been a lost season for Freiburg so far, I must say. It has not been great for anything they've done. They've not won many matches in the German Bundesliga. They're far off the pace for where they want to be in that league. And then were perfect in the Europa League until their trip to Genk. 1-0 behind is not the worst thing, but now they're one goal favorites at home, where they play much better football, but it's not been great or easy for them so far this season. Genk, with all the juice right now, are 18 of the 20 cents. Total is 2 3/4, and just a little bit more to under. Now, Genk, I suspect, will go on the road and try to defend, try to hold on to their lead as long as possible. They probably won't come out even when they're down 1-0. That makes a +1 a little bit less interesting to me. I think I'd want 1 1/4 or bigger. That doesn't seem likely. So I'll lean to the +1 right now because it's an important push right there. And that would be certainly sending this match to extra time and might see a conservative end to try to get out of there with a push. But as for the total, I think we see a low scoring game here. So I like the under 2 3/4. That's probably my biggest interest at present. Well, next move to Lyon, hosting Celta de Vigo after Celta were drawn. A lot due to, you could argue, poor goalkeeping, but Lyon was certainly peppering Celta de Vigo with shots. I believe there was a red card as well. And this is on aggregate tied 1-1. The spread in this one, keep going back and forth, I guess, based on whatever spreadsheet I have open. But Celta are a quarter goal underdog at home, on the road. All the juice is on Lyon, but potentially moving to half a goal favorites. And this seems like both times the road teams are getting a lot of respect. Total this one's 2 1/4, juice all the way to over. Probably seeing a 2.5 coming. We didn't see much offense in the first leg. I don't know that we'll see a lot of it here. I think we see a very, very tense and nervy potentially matchup, which I don't think helps goal scoring whatsoever. It can certainly impact defenses. I just don't see a lot of goals being scored. Celta Vigo have been great, not conceding. They were talking about when they were 1-0 ahead that they had, in order to lose in regulation, they'd have to concede 2 goals, and they had barely done that on the road so far this season. A little bit different in a 1-1 scoreline or aggregate score heading into the second leg. But I think we see a low-scoring match here. Lyon have been, I think, really impressive based on their financial situation heading into this season, but I don't know that's enough for me to want to stay away from an under here. Celta, I think, at a quarter goal is too cheap for me to want to get involved. At a half a goal underdog, I think I'm more interested, and we'll see if that gets there. In terms of two advanced numbers, we've seen Lyon were initially -125. Well, now they're -195 as they got the essential equalizer and the draw away from home. I think at this point for me, I am interested in Celta potentially keeping this close. I don't think I want much to two advanced number. We've seen Lyon increase by about 36% in expectancy for two advanced numbers based on getting a draw away from home. That's probably where it should be for this matchup in that early window. And that is it, because we did have an earlier match played this week with Sporting Braga, I believe, and they crushed Ferencváros to move on to the next round. So we only have 3 choices for the ultimate best bet portion of this show. And from the Europa League AM edition, I'm going to go with, for my best bet, I'll go with that Celta de Vigo, Lyon under 2 1/4 goals for our nominee for a potential best bet end of show coming on the Apple Podcast, Spotify. Actually, no. Long podcasts are there. The short ones are on the Reels and at the Real_G Warner on Instagram, and also on YouTube Shorts at the Real_G Warner. So now let's move to the I guess later window, which should have one additional match. We'll start with Aston Villa and Lille. Currently, Aston Villa are a 3/4 goal favorite at home, and they are up 1-0 after the first leg. In great position to advance, even though they'd really not been playing very well and not getting a lot of respect from the marketplace for a while now. Numbers a little bit bigger than I made it, but about in the same neighborhood. A lot of juice in Aston Villa, so you might see this climb to a 1-goal favorite, which is something I'll be certainly interested on Lyon. They have not had a very good season. Total in this one's 2.5, just a little bit more to over. That reflects, I think, limited goal scoring from Lille so far this year. Aston Villa being better defensively, I think, than offensively, and also playing at home, which is a big, big deal as well. I think I'm most interested in that under 2.5 here. I think that's a potentially very good bet. Two advanced numbers, Aston Villa go on the road with a 1-0 lead. That certainly helps. I did play both Lille and under, so I split in that first leg. Felt like Lille deserved a little bit more, but one long, I guess, goal opportunity helped by the header of the shortest man on the pitch, I think, in Emi Buendia. But he sent Ollie Watkins forward. Ollie did what Ollie sometimes can do, finish it off, and now Lille are giant underdog to advance. They've moved from plus 219 to plus 542, an increase of nearly 60%. Aston Villa from minus 295 to minus 950 is absolutely obscene. That's 69%. Nice, but still obscene. And we'll move to the next matchup, and that is Roma hosting Bologna. So this matchup was the early one, I think, that kicked us all off. Bologna started a plus 195 underdog. They're now plus 202 after drawing at home in the first leg. So no real, I guess, kind of a status quo there. Only 3.5% change on the Bologna side. Roma from minus 260 to minus 270. Not a huge change on that one, but that's because they drew the first leg. Bologna, I was expecting to be a half a goal underdog. They're about 3/4 right now, which does feel a little bit expensive considering Roma's inability to score goals. So I'll lean to Bologna there. And I expect them to play a really conservative brand, try to keep this match as tight as possible, as long as possible. And that really honestly pushes me towards under as well. I'd like a plus one if I could get on Bologna. Plus 3/4 of the goal, still very interesting because you just need a draw and a win, and a single goal loss and elimination means you're only losing half your bet. And I think that played with the under, which does seem bigger than the two it closed last weekend. Had some 2.25s out there, which if you got it, great. At least you won half your bet. But I think there's definitely some interest for me on both the Bologna side, but I think more to under 2.25 in that matchup. Two more matches left to go. We'll next move to FC Porto, and they're hosting VfB Stuttgart. And this is a 2-1 Porto lead, which changed quite a bit and honestly looked like I think Stuttgart had equalized, but that got stricken or striked or eliminated or whatever, refused. Porto currently minus 124 as a pick'em at home, and that's because Stuttgart need to go win this match away. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's juiced a little bit more to over. Probably expecting goals and certainly expecting a Stuttgart offense to wake up. Porto have scored a lot this season as well. This might be a little bit wilder of a match than I think I generally like for an underdog, but I'm waiting to see Stuttgart move to an underdog because at a draw, Porto are celebrating, Stuttgart are eliminated. Yes, that does potentially put us at risk for a late empty netter, but I've been saying that in every episode so far. And at this point, I want to bet a better team, and I believe that that one is, in fact, Stuttgart in this matchup. We'll see what happens, of course, with line movement and such, but I need Stuttgart to move to a quarter goal underdog. Some of it is out there, though they're a pick 'em right now at Bet Online. So shop around, make sure you get the best price. And let's get Stuttgart as an underdog because I probably will play that. Probably don't want to do much with the total as I expect some goals in this matchup. Last but not least, we'll move to Panathinaikos and their visit to Real Betis. Panathinaikos, who I bet last weekend, also bet under, and both those hit. I'm going to try to keep that going as Europa League and really all knockouts, the Champions League included, have been very good to me and my family. Currently, Panathinaikos, a 1.25 goal underdog, and they are up 1-0 going on the road to Real Betis, certainly of a bigger league in Spain versus Panathinaikos in Greece. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's used all the way to over. So probably seeing this climb to 2.75, which it probably should, but that is still saying something in my humble opinion. Panathinaikos are a big spender. They've done a lot with building their team. They have big names like Davide Calabria from Milan, Alban Lafont from Paris, or really just France, formerly of Nice. And they're a good team. Real Betis have to win by multiple goals to take your money. If they win by a single goal and force extra time, you are cashing, and that is very interesting to me. So I like that side. Total, I do think we can see some goals because Real Betis are going to go for it. 2-0 victory, though, is enough for Betis to advance, and it still plays under. I was less interested in under last week, so I'll put it on my list, though, as a potential. But I like really the side of Panathinaikos more. Moving to the futures and the two advanced numbers. Panathinaikos, they are plus 143 to advance, minus 185 for Real Betis. Those are big changes from last week. Basically cut in half of Panathinaikos and even more than that on Real Betis, trying to get some money probably coming in to balance the books a little bit. Panathinaikos probably took some extra money at Bet Online. If you're not a member of Bet Online or sportsbetting.ag, hit me up because there's great juice savings on the English Premier League, plus also plenty of great bonuses, especially for first-time depositors. If you've not been at sportsbetting.ag or at betonline.ag, please hit me up at the real_G Warner across all social media platforms. That is it for this Europa League episode. Before we close it up, let's nominate a best bet from the second half of the day, the PM version of this Beautiful, beautiful place. I would love to take Stuttgart, but as quarter goal underdogs, they're not there yet. I think across the marketplace, so I can probably wait on that one. I wouldn't really feel great about recommending it unless you could get it out there. It's juiced and probably available out there, so I shouldn't say that, but I do think there's some other value on potentials out here. And one big one for me is Lille as a 1 goal deficit, trying to go reverse that on the road, probably aggressively playing more offense, and Aston Villa playing more counterattacking. That does worry me about backing Lille, I must say. I think I need a +1 there. On the Bologna side, three-quarter goal underdog, but they are level going to Roma. I just don't see a lot of goals in any Roman matches so far this season, and why would we expect them to come in the Europa League? So under 2.25, my biggest interest there. But for the ultimate best bet on this show, from the AM, the early window, and the Europa League, I went Celta Vigo under 2.25 goals. In the PM, I went with Roma under 2.25 goals. Similar ideas behind both of them, similar type of setups, and both equal on aggregate 1-1 after the first leg. Let's go under Celta Vigo visiting Lyon in France. We'll go under 2.25 goals as best bet in this episode, and you can grade us on that. You'll see it on YouTube Shorts and on Instagram Reels at @the_Real_G Warner. You want the whole episode, make sure you check out and subscribe. Betting the Pitch Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. And we'll see you next time on the Betting the Pitch Network.